I can help you stock your pantry with shelf-stable, complete meal kits that are perfect for emergencies and power outages, or just everyday dinners. These are the bags that I use for my meals in a bag. The meal in a bag that I'm making today is a chicken queso chili, and it is so good. I've also got a dessert recipe for you today that's a dessert in a bag. I've started having a lot of fun with these, and this is going to be a walking strawberry cheesecake. That is really delicious. Hey guys, it's Jara with Wicked Prepared, and thank you for dropping by the channel today. If you're new here, welcome. This channel is all about prepping, emergency preparedness, being prepared for all the things, the big things, the little things, the unknown things. We talk about all aspects of preparedness, but being a woman who loves to cook and loves to eat, I have a special interest in food storage and a passion for helping people learn new ways to use the food that they store. Because I think sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes, people tend to just buy and store certain foods because they think it's what they're supposed to store. But if it came time to actually use it, they wouldn't necessarily be able to make an appetizing meal out of it. And that can lead to waste in the long run. I love creating ready-to-go, shelf-stable meal kits. And my two favorite ways to do this are meals in a jar and meals in bags. With these two options, you just grab one thing off the shelf and you have a complete meal. Just add water. Or in the case of the meals in a bag, you don't even need to add water because I include the water you need right in the bag. These meals are perfect for emergency preparedness because in a stressful, difficult time when the power may be out, you don't have to think about what you're going to cook. You don't have to open your refrigerator. You don't have to go fumbling around in the dark trying to gather a bunch of different ingredients to put together a meal. And these usually cook up really quickly too, so you're not using up a lot of your emergency fuel. After a while though, I realized they're perfect for more than just emergencies. They don't need to just sit there on the shelf until the end of the world as we know it. I can reach for one at the end of a busy day. I can reach for them when I'm at the end of my rope. It's a far better option than fast food, takeout, or delivery. It makes an easy option when someone else in the household has to do the cooking, like maybe your spouse or your teenager. They're great to grab off the shelf if you have someone you want to bless with a meal or two. A friend who's ill, someone who just had a new baby or a surgery. And unlike the umpteen casseroles that other people brought, your meal won't have to fit in the fridge or be eaten right away. It can sit on the shelf until they're ready for it. They're even wonderful to put up for yourself in the event of illness or surgery. I have a friend who credits her meals in a jar and meals in bags for keeping her fed and keeping her going during her cancer treatments. These meals are great also for sending off with college students or other young people out on their own for the first time. One more thing they're good for is travel. My sister always brings meal kits like this with her when she travels to save some money during her trip. Also camping. These are great camping meals. They're good for hunting, bringing up to hunting camp with you. There's so many uses for these. Putting some of your food storage together into ready-to-go meals and then incorporating those meals into your everyday routine from time to time will make sure that you have a food storage that works for you and your family and that your food stays rotated and nothing goes to waste. The meal in a bag that I'm making today is a chicken queso chili, and it is so good. I saw this recipe floating around on the internet and I noticed it used mostly shelf-stable ingredients already. So all I really had to do was sub in canned chicken and it would make a great meal in a bag emergency meal kit. Let's get started and I'll show you the ingredients, how I put together the bag, and then the completed meal. These are the bags that I use for my meals in a bag. They're basically the same bag, but one's bigger and one's smaller, and I do get these on Amazon. I'll put links to everything that I use down in the description box below the video in case you want to use the same things that I do, but there's definitely other ways to do it. These bags are like a plasticky material, so they don't rip. I've never had problems with them ripping. I've not had the handles rip off. They do have this nice gusseted bottom with a paperboard insert so that they'll stand up nicely on the shelf. I get the two sizes for meals that have more ingredients and meals that have less ingredients. It kind of bothers me a little bit that they're not exactly the same for uniformity on the shelf. So if that's something that bothers you, you might want to go with just the larger bag because this would hold the ingredients of the smaller meal, whereas the smaller bag wouldn't hold the ingredients of the larger meals with more ingredients. Now, what I have been using to label them is I've been using these CD and DVD holders. These are self-adhesive. This is what they look like. So, of course, they've got a peel and stick backing, and then they've got like the pocket where you could fit the CD in. So what I've been doing is putting the card with my ingredients and my cooking instructions and everything right in this pocket. And of course I stick this on the broad side of the bag. I do like to set these on the shelf with the narrow side out though, just like a book. So what I've been doing so far is I've been using these chalkboard labels. If you watch me regularly, you know these labels because I love these. I use these on everything. But I've been using one of these on the narrow side of the bag just with the name of the dish in my chalkboard marker. That way I can easily see what's in each bag as they sit on the shelf. What I have been toying with is I finally found this. I'd been looking for something like this and I couldn't find it. It's a 3x5 index card holder or photo holder. But what's different about this one is that it opens on the short side, which is difficult to find. Sometimes they typically open on the long side. And what I envisioned with this originally was having this on this would actually fit on the narrow side of even the smallest bag. This is also peel and stick. And then you could use a card, an index card or something that would slide right down in here that would have the name of the dish and the cooking instructions, ingredients, everything. Of course, now that I found these, I'm not sure if I want to switch because I really like the look of the chalkboard labels on these as they sit on the shelf. So I'm not really sure, but that's another option for you. I will link these down in the description box as well in case you want to try something like that. In the past, I have been handwriting the labels, but I'm trying to come up with something. This is something I tried. This is like a little trial version. I'm not very technologically oriented, so this is just what I came up with. What I really need to do is send this project to Mr. Wicked Prepared because he's much better than me at things like this. But right now, he's busy working on our bug out ban, so I had to come up with this on my own. So what I'm envisioning with this is cutting this out and folding it on the line and sliding it into the holder. This is just going to be a lot easier than handwriting these, especially if you're making up several of the same meal or several of any meals all at once. So I'm going to cut this out and see how this goes. I had envisioned making something that printed on the front and the back, but I definitely couldn't figure that out. So this was what I came up with. All right, so we're going to fold this and I'm just going to match it up. That should make it fold on the line, and let's see how this works. That actually works pretty well. So I could definitely envision doing this for all of the bags. I might add a little decoration and a little color to this, and like I said, if Mr. Wicked Prepared can take on this project and fancy it up a little bit, then it'll be even better. But this is definitely going to do the job. These are the ingredients that went into the bag. You could put either side facing out. This is the preparation instructions. I guess this would make more sense so that if you're preparing the dish, you don't even have to remove this from the pocket. You can just read the instructions. And then if you wanted to make it again, you could take it out and read the other side. But I also might make a printable recipe page for this as well that you could keep in a binder and just use that to refer to. And then you can use the same bag with this on it. You could just make another of the same meal. You could save the bags and reuse them, or you could just slip this out and use the same bag to house a different meal. The ingredients for the white chicken chili are going to be 2 cans of cannellini beans, 2 cans of cream of chicken soup, 1 can of rotel, 2 of the large cans of canned chicken, 2 of these cans of white choux peg corn, and 16 ounces of Velveeta cheese. Now, in keeping with the white chicken chili theme, I did get the queso blanco variation of Velveeta, but you can get any Velveeta that you can find in a 16-ounce package. Now, this rotel is not terribly spicy, especially when it's just this small amount and with all these other ingredients. But if you're really, really sensitive to spice, then they do make mild rotel, and you could use that in the place of this. I am going to use the larger size bag for this meal. I'm going to start by adding our 2 cans of cannellini beans, 2 cans of corn, 2 cans of chicken, 2 cans of cream of chicken, 1 can of rotel, and lastly our Velveeta. And it's ready to go. As usual, I'm going to prepare this on my butane emergency burner just to demonstrate how we would do this if the power were out. I've got a large soup pot here, and this is really a simple recipe. This is pretty much a dump and heat kind of recipe. Now, you could put this together in a crock pot. If you did have power and you had all day, you could throw all the ingredients in the crock pot to let them heat. It really just needs to heat, melt, and combine. It doesn't really need to do a lot of actual cooking. I'm just going to start opening up my cans. Now, of course, don't forget about having a manual can opener. We have one in our emergency cooking gear, and then sometimes I'll actually put a mini military style can opener into these individual bags if they don't have the top cans. So I'm going to start by adding the 2 cans of chicken, and I'm actually not going to drain this chicken because this juice, the broth that's in here, is going to just add to our recipe. We're not going to have to add as much water, and it's going to give it more flavor. Especially in an emergency when water could be scarce, you definitely don't want to waste any of the water that's in our canned goods. And also that little bit of fat in there, that's going to add some calories and some flavor, and that's going to be really important in an emergency as well. Next, I'm going to add the corn. Now, this type of corn is sort of vacuum packed, so there's not a lot of extra liquid in these, but we are going to add any that's in there, just like the other. And then our 2 cans of cream of chicken. These do have the pop top. And next we've got our 2 cans of cannellini beans. And once again, I'm not going to drain these either. Now, if this were not an emergency, I would probably drain these and rinse them. But we're pretending that this is, so I'm just going to go ahead and add them with the liquid. And finally, of course, our 1 can of Rotel. This is all of the canned goods, so I'm going to go ahead and get this blended somewhat before I add in the Velveeta. And I'm going to start the heat so this can start warming up. Now, the original recipe, if you were making this normally, you would drain the cans and add a couple of cans, soup cans full of water. So I'm going to wait and see how this looks when it's heated to see if I want to add the water, because we do have the liquid from the chicken and from the beans and all the vegetables. So we're not going to need as much water probably as we would have otherwise. So I've got this on a pretty good heat. And while that's starting to warm up, I'm going to open up the Velveeta and I'm just going to cut it into chunks, into cubes, so that it can melt more quickly in the dish. Now, I'm not going to worry too much about the larger chunks of chicken right now because they're going to tend to break up as this chili heats. And I don't want my pieces to get too small. So I'm going to let them go for a while, and then later on when it's closer to serving time, if I feel like they need it, then I'll break up those chunks. All right, I do have my Velveeta all cubed up, so I'm just going to go ahead and dump that right in because that can start melting as this is heating. I don't really need to wait, but just to get everything melted, combined, and bring it up maybe to a very gentle simmer, but we don't need to get it any hotter than that. We don't need to boil this. Okay, so as soon as this has all melted and combined and is steaming hot, this is ready to go. That's all you need. Let's go ahead and serve some up. Now, one way that we really like to serve this, or really any chili, we like to have Fritos on top of it sometimes. So you could add a bag of Fritos or a few of these small bags of Fritos into your meal in a bag if you wanted. You just crunch these up a little bit and then add them right onto the top of the chili. And besides the Fritos, another thing you could add to the bag to make it more of a complete meal is some kind of a just add water cornbread mix. And of course you'd want to add a bottle of water to prepare the cornbread with, however much water you needed, how much it called for. You could even do a just add water cornbread mix that you made yourself. I'll have a link to the video where I did this recipe in the description box of the video. And then of course you could also add something like a can of fruit to your bag as well if you wanted to round out the meal a little bit more. I've also got a dessert recipe for you today that's a dessert in a bag. I've started having a lot of fun with these. This is a takeoff on walking tacos, which you know is one of our family's absolute favorite meals, especially when we're camping. And this is going to be a walking strawberry cheesecake. And all we're going to need for this is we're going to be using a box of cheesecake filling, instant cheesecake filling. This is a powdered mix. We've got some powdered instant milk to go along with this, and then some water to make that into milk. We've got a box of these individual snack packs of graham cracker bear cookies. It doesn't have to be Bears, any kind of little individual packs of graham crackers. This is the store brand, but Teddy Grahams is the name brand. And then of course we've got a can of strawberry pie filling here. Now if you don't like strawberry for some reason, you could use blueberry, you could use cherry, you could use any pie filling you wanted really. Let's get these in the bag and then I'll show you how to fix up this really quick, easy, and delicious dessert. Our first order of business is going to be repackaging anything that needs to be. So I'm going to take some of the instant milk and I'm going to be putting it into a small mason jar. This is just what I'm choosing to use. You could package it up in anything. The other thing you could do is sometimes at the grocery store they sell powdered milk in individual packets. That's just enough to make 1 cup. I don't really care for that type of powdered milk, so I don't have that on hand, so I'm using what I have. So I'm going to put 1/3 of a cup of powder into this jar, milk powder. Now I am making about a cup and a half of milk. So that's roughly about the amount of powder that would be called for to make that amount of milk. So if you use a different brand of powder, just use the amount of powder that you would use to make roughly a cup and a half of milk. I'm going to go ahead and put the lid on this. Now these mason jar lids that come with the jars will keep these really nice and airtight. So this powder should last for quite a while. This brand of powder that I'm using typically lasts at least a year after it's opened, and this is pretty freshly opened. So I would expect this to last at least a year. If you wanted it to last longer, you could open a fresh can, a fresh container of your milk powder, and then put it into a jar with an oxygen absorber. The other thing is going to be the cookies. This has 10 packs in here, and unless you're planning on serving 10 people, you're not going to need all 10 packs. So just to save space, conserve space, and not have things going to waste, you can just take out the number of packets that you need, the number of bags you actually need to put into your bag. Also, this cheesecake mix does contain a crust mixture, which is basically just graham cracker crumbs, and so we don't need that for this dessert. So I'm going to remove that. This is the graham cracker crumbs. So I'm going to take this right out and just put it in my pantry because I can use this in 7-layer bars or any number of other things. And I'm going to only use the actual filling mix for this dessert. So I should be able to use the smaller bag size for this dessert because there's not a ton of ingredients. I'm going to start with my strawberry pie filling. And next I'm going to add my instant milk powder and my bottle of water, my bag of cheesecake filling. And then of course I'm going to add as many bags of graham crackers as the number of people that I would like to serve. So I've gone ahead and added 6 bags of graham crackers. And this bag is all set to go. To start this dessert, I'm just going to take a mixing bowl and I'm going to put the milk that I put in the container into the mixing bowl. And I'm going to measure out 1.5 cups of water from my bottle. And I'm just going to go ahead and add this to my milk powder. And I'm going to get that whisked together. And that really is the beauty of instant milk, is that it's pretty much instant. So I'm just going to go ahead and start dumping this in and whisking. Whisk this all in, and then I'm going to continue whisking this for about 3 minutes. Okay, so now it's been about 3 minutes and you can see that this has gotten nice and thick, basically like a pudding. Which, speaking of pudding, another option you could do besides the cheesecake filling mix is you could do cheesecake pudding, instant pudding. Now, I like the idea of the cheesecake filling a little bit better, but the good thing about the pudding is that they do make it in a sugar-free version. So if you are supposed to be eating less sugar, that might be a good option for you. I don't know if you'd be able to find the strawberry pie filling in a no sugar added version, but I have seen cherry with no sugar added. So you could do a sugar-free cheesecake pudding with a sugar-free pie filling. The graham crackers obviously aren't going to be sugar-free and they're going to have a lot of carbs. But if you have to eat a sugar-free lifestyle, then you might have some ideas of other things you could use in their place. Or you could just have the pudding with the fruit on top of it. Now, these pudding mixes call for 2 cups of milk. So what I would do in that case is I would use the entire bottle of water, or at least measure out 2 cups, but there should be, I believe, at least, there's just over 2 cups in this bottle. And then I would use the equivalent amount of milk powder, which in my case would be about 3/8 of a cup of the milk powder for 2 cups of water. So that's just another option if you don't want to use the cheesecake mix, or if you need to be sugar-free, or if you want to use something that's not going to have an extra mix. All right, so now our cheesecake filling is all thickened. So I'm going to go ahead and set that right up here. So now we're going to take our pie filling and our graham crackers. And I'm going to open up a pack of graham crackers. Now, when we do our walking tacos, we like to crunch up the chips in the bag before we add all of the other ingredients. If you're going to crush something in a bag like this, always open the top first and hold it upright to crush it, because otherwise you can pop the bag and lose everything at the bottom. Ask me how I know. If you want, you actually can save 1 out whole to use for a little garnish or decoration on the top. I'm just going to open up the pie filling. And now, of course, what we're going to do is we're going to put a dollop of the cheesecake filling and a dollop of the pie filling. So I'm just going to go ahead and take a scoop of this and plop it right down in there. And then I'm going to take a scoop of this and plop that right on top. And we can put our little bear guy down in there. And then just take a spoon, a spork, whatever you have, and just dig in. Try to make sure you get some of each layer in your bite. And look at how delicious that's going to be. That is really delicious. You could even put a stack of plastic spoons, sporks, whatever you have, right in the bag with your meal. And you don't need any other dishes because you're eating right out of here. Well, other than a mixing bowl to mix up your filling. Okay, guys, that is the latest addition to our collection of meals in a bag, otherwise known as emergency meal kits. We will have a printable recipe page on our website, and I will have a link to that down in the description box below the video. And also all the things that I used in the video to the extent that I can. Like any new recipe, I encourage you to try it out once as written to see if it's something that your family likes, because we all have different tastes. But if your family likes it as much as mine does, and I really hope they do, then you can go ahead and make up several bags of this meal to stock your shelves with and or to gift to someone else. A meal like this could be such a blessing to someone. We do have a playlist with other meals in the bag that we've done so far, so if you like this concept, then go ahead and check that out. I will be adding to the playlist regularly. I absolutely love putting these together, and I have so many more recipes and ideas that I just need to get filmed so I can get them out to you. So do make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss anything. Give this video a thumbs up and share it on your social media or with your friends and family. That really helps us out. It helps out the channel so we can keep bringing these videos to you, and we really do appreciate it. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, leave me a cheese emoji down in the comments and check out our whole meal in a bag playlist right up here next. I'm Jara with Wicked Prepared. Survive today, thrive tomorrow. We'll see you next time.